In the exercises site, I've opened transform_origin.html. You can find a copy of this file in the Using CSS Transforms and Transitions folder of the course assets. If I turn on Live View, you can see that when I mouse over these images, they scale and rotate, but the position is bad. Also, this image is always behind the other one, so we need to fix those two problems. By default, the transform property rotates and scales elements from the center. So what we need to do is to change the transform origin with the transform origin property. And because you need some vendor-specific prefixes, it's probably best to go directly into code view to deal with this. So let's open split view and find the relevant rule. I've got rotate left for the one at the top and rotate right for the one at the bottom. These are two classes. So I'm going to click at the end of the rotate left class, insert a new line. I get some code hints, type a hyphen and then WebKit, select that, and it's transform origin that we want. And this takes two values. The first one is the horizontal value and the second one is the vertical one. We want to make the transform origin on the left hand side, so select left, then a space, and at the top, and then a semicolon at the end, and we need to copy that and paste it twice. Make the first one for MS and the last one the standard property, and then I'm going to copy all three and paste them into the rotate right class, and instead of being left top I'm going to make the rotate right left bottom. So just make that change in those three. And if we refresh live view by clicking this icon here, you can see that, let me just close split view, when I mouse over, we're now rotating and scaling from the top left, or left top to use the correct order for CSS, and in this case it's from the left bottom side. As a result of changing the anchor point from which the transitions or the transformations take place, the first element is now higher up and the last one is lower down, so you would need to change the relative positions between the two. That's simply a question of changing margins. I won't bother to go into that. The more interesting problem is dealing with the way that this image always goes behind. The transition on both images is applied using the Smooth class. So I'm going to select Smooth in the CSS Designer, and what I need to do in the Properties pane is to scroll down and find Position and change that to Relative. Now I'm not going to change any of the offsets, I just want it to be relative so I can apply the Z-index property, so then I can stack the two elements on top of each other. The Smooth property controls the images in their normal state, so in their normal state I want the Z-index to be 1. I'm not quite sure why my version of Dreamweaver CC is showing up the word value there. Let's just right click and go to code, and there's no problem there, so we can just ignore that. So let's go back to the CSS Designer, and the next style rule I want to deal with is the hover pseudo class of Smooth, and I want to set the Z-index there to 10. The reason I'm setting it to 10 rather than to 2 is because the Z-index needs to change over the transition. So if you set it from 1 to 2, Z-index needs to be an integer. It changes very suddenly. If you set the normal state to 1 and the hover state to 10, there's a smooth transition. So let's refresh live view by clicking the refresh button and try it again. And now it's coming in front. And when this one is being hovered over, it comes in front. Perfect. To change the anchor point from which elements are transformed, set the transform origin property, which takes two values. The first value sets the horizontal position and the second is for the vertical position. I also showed you how to change the stacking order of elements by making them relatively positioned and changing their z-index. To make a smooth transition, use z-index values several numbers apart.